NDC flag bearer hopeful Spio Gabrah is predicting that majority of national NDC officers seeking re-election will lose their bid to hold on to power. Mr. Gabrah tells JoyNews the party's recent regional and constituency elections show a trend of delegates ditching persons believed to be aligned to former President John Mahama, aside from wanting new faces to steer their affairs. NDC General Secretary Johnson is indicated as one of the key names seeking to be re-elected, and Mr. Gabrah believes his re-election may be difficult.
Delegates, because the majority want change, and the change is not initially about me. It's about the fact that they were very disappointed in the 2016 elections and about all kinds of things that they've heard that went wrong at the national, at the regional, and at the constituency level. And the way to validate that fact is the fact that if you examine the delegates who have just been elected at the branch level, there are 29,000 branches throughout Ghana. 75 to 85% of them are brand new, meaning that the delegates allowed only average 20% of the old executives to stay. That demonstrates dissatisfaction with the status quo. At the constituency level, about the same thing happened. In some constituencies, even 100% change. Then at the regional level also, the same thing happened. Now, many Ghanaians may not understand or even...
In fact, we know that some of them did endorse President Mahama even ahead of...
Well, so for example, if you look at the 10 regional chairmen who endorsed President Mahama, you ask yourself how many of the 10 are left? Only 2, which represent the same 20-80 ratio that I'm talking about. So if 80% of the party are asking for change at the branch level, at the constituency level, at the regional level, and even at the national level, if you look at the executives who are standing, you find that almost 85% of them are looking for a different position than their current position. Because they've realized that if you try to stick to the same position and you don't change yourself, you'll be changed. So 80 to 95% of national executives are moving from chairman, vice chairman to chairman, are moving from vice chairman to national organizer, are moving from national communication officer to national organizer, are not even attempting to be chairman again or national organizer again. And there's a lot of movement, even for those who want to stay in, and many are not even standing for the election at all. So at the end of the national secretariat elections, you can verify, and you can take this note and mark it, that there will be at least an 80% change at the national executive level. Now, if that kind of change continues all the way up to national level, why would you think that when it comes to the flag bearership, then the change will stop?
Mr. Gabrah has also been telling JoyNews about his chances of winning the flag bearer race. He says his own internal poll currently places him second to another contender, but this would change by the election date.
Each of us is campaigning at this time for themselves. If later in the period somebody comes and says, well, it looks as if I'm not going to do very well, so I want to throw my support to Mr. A or Mr. B, that hasn't happened yet.
And so far in your discussion hasn't been top of the agenda?
No, such a discussion hasn't taken place.
But what do you make of the predictions that, it's not likely Mr. Mahama is the most likely candidate to win? You were talking earlier on Asempa about an internal poll yourself. What is that result telling you?
No, those are my polls, and I'm saying that in my polls, I'm currently second to somebody else whose name I won't be mentioning, but the trajectory of the increase in my popularity is like that by the time the elections take place, my team expects me to be the winner. And that's not unusual when you watch people running a, let's say, 5,000-kilometer race or 10,000-kilometer race. It's not the person who is necessarily leading the race at the beginning who necessarily wins. Some of them even just start the race. There's a name for that person who is a race starter and drops out consciously after 4 or 5 runs. But in this case, I ran in 2006, and so among all the 10 or more candidates, I'm the only one who has run a competitive flag bearership race before. So I'm the only one who knows where the speed bumps are, where the potholes are, where the customs and police may be there to stop you, or where you might get a flat tire. And therefore, that gives me a certain amount of experience in how and when to run the race. But I have complete respect for all my other contestants. And there's no doubt that anybody who has been a president before will have a higher level of popularity and name recognition. But that does not necessarily convert into acceptance. And acceptance is not only at the NDC level. The NDC is not supposed to select somebody who we as NDC simply like, but somebody who, in addition to we liking, will be liked and accepted and voted for by the majority of Ghanaians. The end game is the winning of 2020, not just simply winning an NDC flag bearership race. So that is what we want the delegates to test in their own communities. As they go out of a meeting with me, go and ask people in your own community, which of the NDC candidates, if we brought, will your community vote for? Not just you, the delegates. And let that be your guidance in deciding how you vote yourself.
The former education minister has meanwhile indicated his plans of reviewing the free SHS policy if NDC delegates vote him and subsequently Ghanaians give him the chance to lead the country.
No, it's not for me to say. The incumbent government has made it a campaign promise and they are trying to implement their policy. So I don't think shouting on them at this stage will make a difference. What their finance minister has been saying is that he wishes that parents who can afford to pay their children's school fees were allowed to do so, so that the burden on the government's expenditure will be reduced. That's finance minister of NPP making such a statement. And making that statement publicly means that he's frustrated in cabinet meetings and in private meetings when he makes such recommendations, which his colleagues who are not finance ministers obviously are not accepting, because they think they've made a political promise, so they must just go ahead strong-headedly about it, even if it is not making sense or even if it is affecting the financial balance of this country. And as a result, the economy is not moving anywhere. Businessmen are complaining.
You should take that proposal up.
Of course. I mean, there are parents who wanted to contribute even last year. They started either terminating, dismissing, or disciplining headmasters who accepted additional payments from parents. They said it's illegal, don't do it. And the parents are saying, well, I've paid $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for my child, even in primary school or so-called international JHS. Why can't I also pay for my child's education? Parent-teacher associations are arguing and fighting with headmasters in many schools, which maybe the public doesn't see. Students are going into classrooms that are 70, 80 students in a class instead of 35 or 40 students, which is a normal class size. So that is putting extra pressure on teachers who are getting the same pay for double work. And as I'm saying that, whether you say students will be in a class for 41 days, 32 days, 73, all kinds of numbers are being put out. But if two students must share one chair, one classroom chair in the course of the year, then the reality is that each student will not sit on that chair for more than 6 months in a year. And the other student will be outside the classroom for 6 months in a year. That's pure arithmetic. And so for 6 months in each year, most senior secondary school students will be outside.
They will tell you that the alternative would have been that those students would have been home. They will not be in school.
It's their policy. It's their responsibility to solve that problem. Okay. They brought it upon themselves. So if they want all children of school-going age who are secondary students to be in school, fine. Find places for them to be educated. You haven't done the infrastructure. You haven't printed the textbooks. You haven't done exercise books. And so you have this mismatch of your words and your deeds. And the people of Ghana are watching them. Parents are getting frustrated. The idea it sounds good. Nobody will say that giving free something to anybody is necessarily bad. But how do you do it? How do you implement it in such a way that does not become a problem for you yourself, the government, a problem for the parents, a problem for the students, a problem for the economy? This, I think, is the structural challenge that we are facing, which we say that if and when I become President of the Republic of Ghana in January 2021, I shall review, revise, and reform it based on what is working at the time and what is not working at the time.